Students have reached out to me saying that their accuracy in VARC is as low as 30%, even when they feel that they have understood the passage and marked the options correctly. I was in a very similar situation when I started my preparation. But luckily, that changed in a few months, and I ended up scoring pretty well in my VARC section. Let me give you some context. Even though I studied in an ICSE school where we were made to read lengthy passages and solve reading comprehensions from an early age, it took me a very long time to realize what is the difference between the passages that we were made to solve in school and the type of passages we get in CAT. You could get a same passage in a school exam and in CAT, but the major difference will be in the questions asked and the options given in the CAT exam, which will be very different and detailed from the ones we did in school. In CAT, you are not just expected to read and understand the passage, but also be able to analyze it. You not just have to make a broad sense of the whole passage, but understand the main theme of each paragraph. You have to learn to differentiate between facts and opinions, and a lot of other nuances that we did not even think about in school. In this video, I'll break down 5 key points that I feel are very crucial when attempting reading comprehensions in CAT. It took me a very long time to understand this, but I'll try to make it as easy for you as possible. Not just this, by the end of this video, I'll also take up a passage from RC 99 and solve it using all the techniques that I will be discussing in this video. The first step is understanding how to read passages. One method that you can apply here is to skim through the passage quickly and decide whether you want to attempt this or not. No matter what anyone says, this is the trickiest and most difficult part of the process. Because no matter how much you practice, there's still a chance that you will choose a passage that you're not very comfortable with, or that turns out to be much more difficult than you thought. But don't worry. Even if that happens, the other points and your entire preparation will help you to handle that passage as well as you can. Now let's say you skim through the passage and decide to attempt this particular RC. The next step is to begin reading with the intention to understand. Start with building a map on a paper. It could have any kinds of arrows, symbols, relationships between what you are reading. It has to be a very brief or pictorial representation, a summary of what you've just read. These arrows and figures will help you come back to this paragraph to understand what you had just read. After you're done reading with one paragraph, note down the key message in the paragraph in just 5 to 6 words. Do this with all the paragraphs. And once you're done with all the paragraphs, take a mental note of the key message of the entire passage. Once you've done this for all the paragraphs, determine the key idea or the main thing that is talked about in the entire passage. Again, this can be a 5 to 6 word line, and make sure that this key idea includes some meaning from each of the passages that you just read. It may also be possible that you do not know the meaning of each word in the sentence, but as long as you're able to make out the meaning of the whole sentence, it's okay. Move on and continue ahead. Once you've thoroughly understood the passage and the tone, the next step is coming to the questions. Some people suggest that you should skim through the questions even before doing the main intentional reading of the passage. You can try doing this if it helps, because it can help you focus on those paragraphs on which the questions are asked. Now, once you've read the question, the very first step is to remember and remind yourself that this is a game of elimination, not selection. The best way to begin solving is by eliminating options that are either too extreme or are some form of distortion of the main point in the passage. Very often, you will be able to eliminate 1 or 2 options using this technique. Now let's say you've come down to 2 or 3 options. Here comes the most crucial part of the video that I want you to listen very carefully. You can have options that sound correct. They can be factually correct or resonate with the opinion, but you have to choose the option that answers the question. Yes, I repeat, the correct answer is the option that answers the question as best as possible. You can have options that are either factually correct or universally correct or are repeated in the passage. But if this option does not answer the question being asked, then this is not the correct option. Another point that can help is trying to understand the source or the tone of the passage. If it is a news article or an excerpt from a book, if it is an opinion piece or a factual piece. If the tone of the author is extreme, you can choose extreme options. But if it's just an opinion piece, be mindful of not to choose extreme options. Identify the author's opinion in the passage, and then also understand how to differentiate between facts and opinions. And lastly, Do not rely on your memory when answering specific questions. Go back to the part of the passage where you read that particular line or description and read it again before picking the final option. Very often, our memory does not serve us right, and we might end up picking the next best option. This is especially helpful when you're answering a question relating to a specific detail or a specific fact. Here are 3 kinds of options that you can keep in mind when referring to these kind of problems: out of context, out of scope, and irrelevant. For example, the passage talks about marriage, but in one of the questions, one of the options talks about marriage laws. Now, this option could be factually correct, and while reading the passage, you had even thought about such a law. But because this law is not a part of the passage, this becomes an out of scope option, and therefore it is incorrect. Now, let's take a passage from RC 99 and solve it using these techniques that I just discussed. As I previously mentioned, the best way to not just prepare for VARC but for the entire CAT exam is through past year question papers and mocks. It not only helps you to get a real flavor of the exam level difficulty but also gives you an idea of the repetitive topics every year. So solving past year question papers is a must. If you are someone looking for a comprehensive compilation of past year CAT exams and high quality mocks, then I have something for you. Here is a comprehensive collection of the past 25-year CAT questions by Oswaal Books. Don't worry, इस book में सिर्फ questions नहीं है. It has a detailed explanation and answer to each question. This book is fully up to date with the 3-shift question papers of CAT 2023 and all its answers. The questions of all the other years have been painstakingly distributed to different topics for a more targeted preparation. The book also has a lot of revision notes, mind maps, and smart shortcuts to different kind of questions. Oswaal Books also has an extensive collection of mock question papers. This book has more than 2200 plus chapter-wise practice questions, 3 sample question papers and 15 high-quality mocks, all with detailed explanations. This book also comes with smart mind maps, a lot of exam-related tips and tricks, and a lot of insights for you to solve questions quicker. They've also added a section to analyze the trends in the past year papers and the analysis of the difficulty level of different years. All the relevant links and details can be found in the description of this video. Now let's get back to VARC. Now let's take a passage from RC 99 and solve it using these techniques that I just discussed. Skim through, I realize, okay, Australia, rainforest, Australian dinosaur. And I also quickly skim through the questions just to know that which section of the passage do I have to give more emphasis on. Based on the information in the passage, which of the following is not true? So I'll have to read all the options, not going to do that. Following considered benefits of Australian ecosystem except. Again, we'll have to read all the options, but I don't want to do that right now. What is the main purpose of the author for writing the message? Okay, so I'll keep this in mind when I'm reading the passage with full focus. Okay, so I have a rough idea, and now I'll begin to read the passage intently. I'll read out one paragraph aloud, and I'll note down the key message that I understood from that paragraph, and I'll not be doing it in detail for every paragraph, but I hope you get the gist. Passage 8. Far from being fixed on Earth, scientists now know that Australia has wandered over the face of the planet for billions of years, sometimes lying in the northern hemisphere, sometimes in the south. For 40 million years, after finally cutting the umbilicus with Antarctica, it slowly drifted northwards in isolation at about half the rate at which a human hair grows. Okay, so now that I've read this paragraph, I will note down the key message that I've understood from this paragraph. And the key message here is that Australia has been wandering around in the face of the earth. From north, south, don't care. Just note down that Australia has been wandering over the face of the earth, right? Okay, now coming to the second paragraph. We do the same exact thing. Read the paragraph, quickly note down 5 to 6 words or a line that makes sense, notes down the key point from this paragraph. So I've done it for the second paragraph also. Here I want to note down that, okay, I don't know what marsupial means, but from reading the sentence, I can make out that it could be an animal. And as long as it's not specifically asked in any of the questions, I can move ahead without knowing that exact word. So for paragraph 2, I've written that Australia's flora and fauna are very unique and they provide some sort of insights. That's paragraph 2 for you. Coming to paragraph 3, Australia's rainforest, unimportant appendages, so and so. The sense that I make from this paragraph is that Australia's rainforests are one of the oldest ones. There have been many discoveries and still many are undiscovered. Okay. Paragraph 4, it's about research, how unique the Australian dinosaurs are and how they've been very different from the previous dinosaur findings. Moving to paragraph 5, what I've noted down is Australia's evolution has been very different, much slower, and one key point that the author mentions here is co-adaptation. And a line to describe that. Okay, not getting into detail. Now that we are done with the paragraph, with the whole passage, what is the key sense or the main idea that I'm making out? So in the entire paragraph, the author is talking about the uniqueness of Australia, mainly in the scope of flora, fauna, ecology, ecosystem discoveries. So this is what I keep in mind. The main idea is uniqueness of Australia's ecosystem. Again, I'm not noting this down, but if you were to ask me the author's opinion, he's he's telling you that Australia is unique, and that is his opinion or her opinion in my belief. Okay, now we'll do questions one by one. Let's get started and see how we can use what you've just learned today. Now, coming to question 1, based on the information, which of the following is not true? Not true. We have to find the false option. Okay. Australia has moved from one hemisphere to another. This could be correct. And it's not that, like, absolutely not true. Can't mark that. Most Australian plant species remain undiscovered. Most Australian species. Very extreme option. Could be the wrong one. Let's see. Important information is being gathered by studying Australian plants. Could be correct. Will definitely not be the right option. Australian rainforests are different from other rainforests. Again, could be correct. Dinosaurs had once existed in what is now Australia. Yeah, there is mention of that in the passage. So according to me, the correct option, the option that is not correct, not true, is option B, because it's a very extreme option. Most Australian species, it's a very extreme option. Most Australian plant species remain undiscovered. So I have a feeling that this could be the correct option. Question 2. Suppose that a previously unknown species of plant that is capable of producing medicine is found in an Australian rainforest. How would this information affect the author's opinion of Australian rainforest? Okay, so we have this idea in our mind that the author is talking about the uniqueness of Australia. So it has to be something positive related to the ecosystem. And if something like this is found, it will resonate with the author's opinion. It would support the author's opinion. Could be. We can stay with this option. It would contradict the author's opinion. Absolutely not. So eliminate option B. It would neither support nor contradict the author's opinion. No, I don't think that can be an option, but okay, we can still hold. It would contradict the author's opinion only if the species of plant cannot be found anywhere else. No, if it cannot be found anywhere else, then it stresses on how unique Australian ecosystem is. So again, this is an option we can eliminate. It would weaken the argument that the Australian ecosystem is unique. No, not at all. It would strengthen the argument. So this is also a wrong option. So we are left with option A, which is the author's opinion, as I pointed out initially, that he is very positive of the uniqueness of the Australian ecosystem. Okay, coming to question 3. According to the passage, all of the following are considered benefits of studying Australian ecosystem except. So again, we'll have to read all the options, cannot eliminate without reading any. Increasing knowledge of reproductive physiology and medicine. Yes, this could be a benefit of studying Australia. Gaining information concerning evolutionary trends, again, could be an option. Furthering the understanding of the uses of hydroelectric power and solar energy, absolutely out of scope and out of context. We don't know if it's true or not, but it is nowhere related to the passage, even irrelevant. Providing insights into ancient ecosystems could be. Providing an insight into the way humans work could be. So here, correct option is option C. Question 4. What is the main purpose of the author in writing this passage? A. To state that dinosaurs originated in what is now Australia. No, he's not talking about the origination of dinosaurs. To criticize modern scientists for not understanding the unique importance of Australia. No, that is not the tone of the author. He's not criticizing anyone. To discuss some unique ecological features of Australia could be, sounds very close to how the author was speaking. To assert that Australian rainforests are the oldest of them all. Yes, the author does mention that it is the most ancient ecosystem, but is this the main message that the author is trying to put across? No. Australian flora and fauna are not found anywhere else in the world. Could be not, extreme option, plus not the main message. So I'll stick with option C, to discuss some unique ecological features of Australia. Okay, so that covers passage 8. I hope this was helpful for you. These are some things that I wish someone had told me when I was preparing for RCs, when I was preparing for VRC, when I was preparing for CAT. If you found this helpful, do consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. It helps a lot. Gear up your preparation and try to incorporate these little things that I just mentioned in today's video in your preparation. All the best. See you.